On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks win a game. So, per Jason Kidd's request, we're going to say some positive.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we let it ride. Thanks for being part of the show. Make it Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Leave a 5-star review if you're listening on a podcast platform, whichever one you are, if they still do that on whatever podcast platform you are. Today's episode, we will talk all about the Mavs versus the Rockets game. We're going to talk about Mark Cuban selling the team on a different episode, so go check out that one. Should be available at the same time wherever you get this one. And so check out that episode. Stuff's happening.
A lot of stuff.
And joining me right now, the post-game prodigy. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Feeling good. Feeling like $3.5 billion bucks.
The team's only worth that, apparently.
Well, I was confused. I guess we're going to talk about that on a different one. But
we'll talk about that the other episode. But we're feeling good. Mavs get a win against the Rockets, 121-115. We'll talk all about that game. We'll talk about Luka, 41 points with Dirk on the broadcast. Oh, it's a good feeling.
He gave us another one.
We'll talk about what went right, what went wrong. We'll talk about Dylan Brooks probably. We'll talk about Derrick Jones Jr. All of a sudden, man, he has been awesome. So we'll get into all that. But I want to start here. Luka, 41 points, 9 assists, and he took 29 shots, but still, to get to 41 points, he just keeps them in some of these games, man. Like when he's just dealing and when they give him one-on-one coverage, he can just score against anyone. He hits tough buckets. This Rockets defense, don't get it twisted. Like this Rockets team is different than last season's Rockets. If you watch this game, you know that. Yeah. This Rockets team is good. This Rockets team has the number one defense in the NBA right now. They are a very different Rockets team than last year. So there may be some of you that are like, oh, barely beat the Rockets. It seems like, no, this is a good Rockets team. And Luka just kept them in this game.
Yeah, and not only is it a good Rockets team, if they won this game, they won the play-in tournament group. Yeah, they would have been playing in Vegas. And don't think for a young team that's, trying to become more and more competitive that Ime Udoka wasn't in that locker room hyping them up for this game, like the importance of this game. This is the biggest game sadly to say, this is the biggest game a lot of these guys have ever played in the league.
Fred VanVleet's like, are you serious?
I do have a championship ring. Okay, well, this is the in-season tournament.
No. Fred's like, I've got 2 championships. He's got a Raptors 905, and he's got a Raptors.
Okay, all right.
I think he's got both. This was a game that the Rockets needed. The Rockets are also they were 0-5 on the road coming into tonight, and so they are now 0-6 away. So they hadn't won an away game. They had in-season tournament odds in this one, and an opportunity still. So this was a game they really needed, and it just felt like they could never really get anything really going offensively in that fourth quarter. The Rockets themselves. And you got to give the Mavericks the effort on defense that they gave in that fourth quarter. I felt like the fourth quarter, obviously they won that quarter by 10, but that one really sealed it for them. Kyrie really got it started by kickstarting the offense in that quarter. And then their defense really helped them stay in this game.
Yeah, they really grinded out this win. It was nice. And these are the moments where it's like, you watch the team, you watch their, the defense, and it feels different than a year ago. And you see the flashes and it's like, okay, this team's like a big wing and something else away. And just if they were able to lock in consistently, they still are. But if they're able to lock in like this consistently, then the bones of a good defense are there. So that was good to see. And Kyrie Irving coming alive in the fourth quarter. And then, like you said, Luka early on, because Kyrie was not playing well early in this game.
No,
and really no one else was early in this game. So Luka had to carry the load offensively, and he did. And it's interesting. It's something I've noticed is the Rockets, they switched everything. They didn't really help. They trusted their one-on-one defenders because they got some guys who can defend one-on-one. And it led to the Mavericks shooting. This is a number I'm monitoring because the Mavericks lead the league in corner threes, a 10th game. It's 13. They shot 6 corner threes tonight.
Wow.
They shot 9 against the Clippers. So I'm wondering if those are just defensive matchups where those teams are saying, hey, we're comfortable with our individual defenders. We're not helping off. Or if this is something like a trend is almost starting across the league where teams are like, hey, don't leave guys open in the corner against the Mavericks. Like, make them beat you in other ways. Just something I'm monitoring.
Yeah, and it's been a couple games now because the Mavericks, it seems like the Mavericks have really gotten out of their drive and kick type game, right? They do drive and they do kick, but then the player's not fully open, it feels like. And 34 threes, that's not a ton for the Mavericks that they took in total in this one. And Luka took 10 of them, so you know those are all like him created. So like a ton of threes are being created for. Kyrie took 7. Those are all, he's creating a lot of those too. So the majority of your threes are being created in other ways. Tim took 8 as well, and he takes a lot of those just himself. And so, yeah, the Mavs really haven't had one of those games where like Grant Williams takes 10 threes, or Josh Green gets like 8 3-point attempts in a game. And so, yeah, it's been interesting to watch that. But Luka and Kyrie in the fourth quarter, I mean, we were joking earlier. Jason Kidd went on a big rant about how, oh, you guys are making a big deal about Luka and Kyrie in the fourth quarter. They just needed time. You're making a big deal about it last year. You're not making a big deal about it this year. All right, let's make a big deal about it. Because it feels like they are finding their groove in crunch time. Like when they can stay in a game, which is why I started with Luka keeping them in this game. If they can stay in a game, then they can figure out a way to close it. And it started with Luka and Kyrie at the beginning of that fourth quarter. Luka set a screen for Kyrie, one of the first plays of the game. And like as soon as they get some of that action going, like good things always happen, it seems like.
Yeah, I love the ball screens that they set. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because you have Fred VanVleet guarding Kyrie, bringing the ball up, and then we want that switch on Luka. There's a big size mismatch right there. Yeah. And then just running the screen alone is enough to generate some good looks if the defense, doesn't, their coverage is off or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I love those plays. It just Kyrie, just the pressure he puts on defenses, and then his free throw shooting is really just so big. Like how many games did the Mavericks choke away last year because of free throws? It felt like a lot.
And the year before that, and it feels like every year it seems like they do that. But yeah, Kyrie got to the free throw line. He hit 4 of 4 in the fourth quarter and felt like he was able to attack a couple times and get to that line. And when their offense wasn't really going, like it felt like for a while Mavs couldn't get a lot going. The Rockets decided to double, and the Mavs couldn't really get a lot of offense going out of that, which is strange for them. But Kyrie got to the free throw line and got to it 9 times total in this game. Matched Luka. We just haven't seen that a lot. And that seems like a lot. Like 9 free throws for him seems like a ton for him. And so just having that and just knowing that those are going to go in, that added a lot to this team. It slowed it down so they were able to get their defense set. Like those are huge. Those plays make a big deal.
Yeah, and it feels like he should go to the line more. I feel like should be a balance where Luka yells at the refs so much. They're like, I just on principle alone don't want to give you this foul call. And Kyrie just like never talks to them. Like he might say like one word or he might look at them. There needs to be like a balance for like, because I feel like if you're a player, this just happens because refs are humans. You go to them, you're like, hey man, I got fouled there. Refs are going to look for that and they're going to say, oh, okay, you did get fouled there. I'm going to call that next time. Except Scott Foster shouldn't be in the league. Look it up. Look it up what he did during the scandal with Donahue.
Oh my gosh.
Look it up. Look how many phone calls they exchanged. Scott Foster, we're on to you.
We're on to you. We've been on him. Like, I feel like this.
No, I'm breaking this news.
To some
I got the call logs.
I got the recordings in a hard drive.
I have call logs that will put Scott Foster in prison.
Meet me on the corner of 75 and the tollway.
Yeah, right in the middle. There I am. Right Traffic is still terrible somehow.
Somehow stop and go all the way through there. Kyrie does need to get to the free throw line a little more, and he should. The way he finishes around the rim, like he avoids contact, and it just feels like sometimes he does it on purpose. But yeah, there are times every once in a while where he gets up and he's like, if he yells at the ref, oh man, that means something desperately happened. There was the play where he had the crazy up and under that I felt like he should have got fouled on. Well, the first play of this game started with Luka driving to the rim and just getting like fouled right at the rim. I think it was Jabari Smith.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, here we go. A Scott Foster crew, and Luka's not getting this call. Like, oh boy, here we go. This is happening.
It was a terribly officiated game. And I the only reason why I bring that up, because I usually never talk about refs, is it just sucked as a viewer. Like, that's just really it. Like, it wasn't, oh, the Mavericks, they screwed the Mavericks, he screwed the Rockets. It was just a brutal watch.
Yeah, they did though. They did.
Yeah, it went back and forth on who they screwed. But
yeah, there were bad calls on both sides for sure, and multiple challenges. And Jason Kidd finally called them. So coming up, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the Mavs won this game. Which role players stepped up big. We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs coming up. Today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball host Josh Lloyd, the GOAT, he really is, to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. Whether you're prepping your daily fantasy or scouting the waiver wire, every week you're going to provide players that guaranteed to fit on your roster. So Josh Lloyd this week on eBay's Guaranteed Fit Players of the Week. He's got a couple of players here that are interesting to me. Let's go Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson on the Portland Trailblazers. He said, quote, "It's going to be rocky for a bit, but Scoot is back and his value and minutes are going to rise. If you can afford some bad games, he is worth grabbing." Scoot Henderson is one where, man, I thought he was going to be the best rookie coming out of this class. It doesn't seem to have hit all the way. Point guards, it seems like it takes them a little bit. It seems like it takes some time for them to get over some kind of a hump, maybe the speed of the game and all that, and then to get into it. So check out Scoot Henderson for your fantasy team. And just like Josh Lloyd from Locked On Fantasy Basketball is going to help you win your fantasy championship, eBay Motors knows a champion team is all about a player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So check out eBay Motors, see what they have. They have over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die to always make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Things like brake kits, LED headlights, roof racks, bumpers, all that kind of stuff. Jake Madison from Locked On Pelicans says to me he uses it all the time to work on his cars. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay, guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Shout out to you if you came to me at the game tonight. Love it all the time. Shout out to Ariel. Shout out to Luka from Slovenia. Different Luka, an actual guy named Luka. Shout out to everybody that came up to me during the game. Brady. Shout out to everybody. I'm in section 123 and I have stickers, so come see me. All right, Slightly. Let's talk about this game. Luka and Kyrie felt like they brought it home. We saw their teamwork in that fourth quarter. They also went to small ball to start that fourth quarter, and I was sitting next to Jackson Gatlin from Locked On Rockets, and I just nudged him and said, the Mavs small ball has actually been terrible this season.
yeah,
And they actually won those minutes 6-4. What did you see at the beginning of that fourth quarter?
Derrick Jones Jr. really good. That's just it.
It turns out it's wild to me how much better he is than Josh Green right now. I did not think that was going to be a thing that I was going to say this season, but 15 points. He hit 2 threes. Both of them, I think, were Luka insane passes to wide open Derrick Jones Jr. And I asked him about that after the game. I said, what goes through your mind when Luka throws a wild pass and you're just all by yourself over there? And he's like, just don't screw it up and don't miss. Like, he basically said, like, it's a simple game. He downplays a lot of things, which I kind of appreciate. It's like, hey, it's just a simple game. Like, all we're doing is throwing it in the basket and, like, boom. And I think that mindset, like, to just simplify things, like, all right, just make it simple. I think that's really helped him in this role, because you as a role player for the Mavericks, you only do a couple of things, right? It's only, all right, you get these few things because Luka has the ball so much. Kyrie's going to have the ball so much. Got Dereck Lively running pick and roll. Like, there's just a lot of other stuff. And so if you're one of those wings, you only get a few things. And so you're like, all right, I got to be really good at these few things. Derrick Jones Jr., man, he has been.
Yeah, and that's Josh Green could really learn from that, because it does feel like sometimes Josh Green's just trying to do a little too much, trying to play so perfectly when it, like you said, it's just, all right, catch the ball, I'm open for three, I'm shooting. Catch the ball, all right, my defender's off balance, I'm driving, I'm attacking. And that's just what Derrick Jones Jr. does. And you're going to have games where you just fall into 14 points because he had 12 points in the fourth quarter. And you're going to have moments like that where it's just, okay, I have the ball and I'm wide open for three, I'm shooting, I made it. Or, okay, I'm running the floor, Luka just threw the most insane pass you'll ever see to me, or Kyrie Irving found me and I have an easy layup or a dunk. So, I love what Derrick Jones Jr. brings to the table. It just feels like a perfect fit. And somebody tweeted this out, and I wish I remembered who it was. I'd shout them out. But it was a really good point where it's like, if Derrick Jones Jr. scores double digits, like, this team's going to win, just because everything Luka and Kyrie does. Like, if Derrick Jones Jr. is bringing that, and it just does go to show, if you find that wing that you could plug in, that obviously is a bit of an upgrade over Derrick Jones Jr., who can consistently bring you offense like that and defense, that's like the real next step for this team, where they head up 1 tier, 2 tiers, 3 tiers. I mean, depending on where you have them at.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot on role players in those championship teams, right? There's always that one guy, the Aaron Gordon, the Michael Porter Jr., just the guy that steps, the Andrew Wiggins, whoever just that guy is. And we've been waiting for the Mavericks to have a guy like that. And Derrick Jones Jr.'s kind of stepped into that role a little bit, which is nice. It's not expected at all.
No,
but it shows that, Luka and Kyrie kickstarted that fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden now all of the attention is going on those two guys. All right, we got to do everything we can to stop. They start doubling. They start, really applying pressure. Dillon Brooks starts doing Dillon Brooks things. And then you're like, all right, well, now all of a sudden, if they're sending two to the ball, somebody's open. And Derrick Jones Jr. is like, it's me.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the open one. It's me. Like just hanging out over there, standing in the corner or standing wherever.
That's right. Get the Swifties on our side.
If they're not going to Locked On Chiefs, then they can come over to Locked On.
Yeah, there you go. No, yeah, and
he was awesome.
And 3 of his points were just the worst foul. I mean, Dillon Brooks, but that was one of the worst fouls you ever see. Like, if I'm Derrick Jones Jr., I'm sending him a bouquet of flowers in the morning just to thank you.
It was like 3.5 minutes left in the game, and Dillon Brooks fouls Derrick Jones Jr. on a 3-point shot, which I kind of hate that foul. He just has his hand up and he's standing there, but he steps forward just a little and gets into his landing space a little.
I think they called it on his, I think he was like reaching. It was just a terrible reach because there was like 2 seconds left on the shot clock and there was a bad offensive possession for the Mavericks. And yeah, Derrick Jones Jr. is about to throw up some crazy 3. And if that goes in, it's just like, all right, whatever. Like, it's not our night.
So the Mavs went from up 6 to up 9 just because of that one play. And it basically ended the game because the Rockets couldn't score. I mean, Şengün was doing everything he could, but nobody else had it going tonight. What? Jalen Green was 5 of 14.
I forgot he was even on the court. And I'm not just saying that.
Honestly,
I honestly forgot he played for them.
Well, I forgot he was. And honestly, I think Josh Green, and he got the start. So I guess we can go to that. He got the start, and I thought Josh Green did a good job with him. Because you just need somebody so fast to just stay with him all over the place, like and just make his life a little bit harder. And I felt like that's why Josh Green, like Jason Kidd, started Josh Green. I asked Jason Kidd about that after the game, and he said, "I said, what went into the decision to start Josh Green?" And he said, "Well, I just want to keep you guys on your toes." And I was like, "Me?" And he goes, "No, not you guys."
It's gonna be real funny when
specifically not you.
The Zoomers start becoming coaches and people who've been online their whole lives. And it's like, it'd be so funny if I started this player tonight. Just see what happens on Twitter.
He honestly said that, though. So it's like, all right, well.
That's what I would do if I were a coach. I'd have like 3 things a game.
What is
where
he,
people
Gen
are like,
X?
What is he? I have no idea. I don't even know what I am, technically.
Yeah, but I think he started him because he needed a little extra. He said he wanted to start him to see how Josh was starting, to see how Derrick Jones Jr. did off the bench. But like, I think he just says that to us just to say things. Where's my favorite drop of all time?
I don't always tell you guys the truth.
And I think that is the truth. And so I think he wanted some more speed because you had Fred VanVleet and you had Jalen Green. As it was with Josh Green starting and Derrick Jones Jr. coming off the bench, Luka was guarding Fred VanVleet a lot of the time. Like, okay,
yeah.
What are we doing here?
Luka played pretty good defensively tonight. We didn't even talk about the real dagger, Luka Skyhook.
Oh, Luka Skyhook was just an insane play. He talked about that after the game too. He said, "I'm 2 for 2 in my career." Do you remember? I think it was in Eurobasket because it was in
Eurobasket.
I remember us covering it on this show. It was Slovenia versus Sweden, and it was the talk because he had done 1 or 2 hook shots
in a scrimmage.
Scrimmages, yeah. And we were like, "Oh, here's the new shot that Luka's going to add to his arsenal." It was the year before; it was like the mid-range stuff, and then that year it was going to be the hook shot, and then he never took one ever again.
No.
He only took it in this game. I think he didn't say it after the game. I think he only took it because he didn't know the shot clock reset.
Oh yeah,
it was just
when you watch the replay, you could tell that's exactly why he threw it up.
Because I didn't think it reset, but it reset all the way to 24, which made no sense to me because the Mavs got the ball back after they had missed, and so it was just a very weird play where I didn't think possession had changed, but it did, and then he threw up that hook shot, and
Aaron Holiday had it. He had the ball, and they'll call. I don't think they should ever call that a full possession, but they do usually call that a full possession.
Yeah,
to be fair.
So that was with 1 minute. That was with 1:03 left, and they went up by 5 when he hit that shot.
Yeah, that was the dagger. Like the game was over after that, which was just absolutely insane.
Imagine you lose on a Luka hook shot.
A hook shot. If that's something he like goes to frequently, that would just be the most insane turn of events. A sky hook.
Coming up, let's talk about Dereck Lively because I thought he had a good game. I thought he was very impactful. He got into foul trouble. Şengün was really good on him, but let's talk about him and let's talk about some other guys that made an impact coming up. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds and lines, over-unders, and more that you can go check out. It may be possible in Texas sometime soon if Mark Cuban gets his way, which we'll talk about in the other episode. You can check out all kinds of other things, but right now they have a $5 on a moneyline bet, and you can get $150 in bonus bets if you win that moneyline bet. So check out all the different props and odds and lines that they have there. For example, Clippers Kings, that's a pretty good one. You can put Kings are plus 110 because they're on the second night of a back-to-back, it seems like. You can put some money down on that. Put $5 down on that. If they win that, you can win some money. Then you can also get the $150 in bonus bets. So check that out on FanDuel. All kinds of other stuff too. Luka for MVP, futures, all that. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn as the NFL season rages on. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
I don't always tell you guys the truth.
All right, slightly biased. Let's talk about Dereck Lively because I thought he made a big impact in this game. He played just under 28 minutes. He got in foul trouble. He had 8 points. He had 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 2 blocks in this game. He was a -2 for the game, but man, I thought he was impactful. And I did the rankings for most impactful player. Luka 1, Kyrie 2, Dereck Lively 3, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, no, it's not close really. And I think he's the third best player, and it's not close too. Already as a 19-year-old rookie. But yeah, he was good tonight, and just so impressed with him. I mean, he was in foul trouble. There was a lot. I mean, I think that there was 4 or 5 Mavs in this game who had 4 fouls.
Well, there's a lot of fouls called in general. Well, there's 52 fouls called total in this game. I mean, this is a Scott Foster special.
Yeah, it was an excruciating watch. But I mean, Şengün's a tough cover. He's incredibly crafty, incredibly good. I hear he's the first guy in the gym, last guy out, lunch pail, sneaky athlete guy as well.
Yeah.
But no, he is a sneaky athlete though. He had some spin moves late in the game where he just went immediately. But he's a tough cover, and I thought Lively did solid, as good as you could ask. And then I just get so impressed with what he does in space because it just looks so good and it looks so impressive for a guy his age as a rookie. Shouldn't be as comfortable defending on the perimeter as he is. That's what's really exciting, in my opinion.
It really is. His ability to he had one play though where I wanted him to just take one dribble and go to the basket, and he hasn't done that yet. We talked with Raphael earlier about how he you're talking about Derek, or we're talking about Şengün, Dereck Lively.
I'm talking about Dereck Lively.
That's right. Okay, wait. I was like, wait, did he finish talking about Şengün?
I finished with Lively.
I got distracted. I was trying to download something. And he just needed to take one dribble to the basket. And eventually I think he's going to do that. Eventually I think he's going to take the 3. They started him at the 3-point line a couple times in this game where it seemed like he started to space the floor. And then eventually he just, kind of snuck into the dunker spot a little bit. But man, he's just so smart. I went through his fouls recently because I went through and watched on Synergy all of his fouls that he's committed. And there's some trends here and there, but it's mostly pretty even across the board with different things. One of them that really stood out to me was he's had 46 fouls coming into this. 7 of them were against driving bigs. That's it was pretty even with all the other ones, but against driving bigs. So a Giannis, a Sabonis, a Zion, Jaren Jackson Jr. just straight driving at him. And he got a couple on Şengün today. I knew he was going to struggle with that. That's just a really tough thing to cover at this point.
What is Synergy just has everything, huh?
Well, I had to count that myself.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a thing that pops up. I'm like, how did they even?
No, I went through and I watched all of them, but I did count it myself. But I brought that up for the other reason is because he's only had 4 offensive fouls as far as screens.
Yeah, that was the big concern. And he doesn't have any dumb fouls. You're like, oh my god, what? You can't be committing that fouls. Very rarely does he do that. I don't think his whistle's very good yet.
No, it's not.
But it feels like most of his fouls, just from the naked eye, I'm not on Synergy, so I don't know. But it feels like most of them are just he goes up straight contests and then will barely come down just a tiny bit.
Yeah,
and they're calling that on him almost every time. It feels like.
But he hasn't had an offensive screen foul since that Orlando game where he had those remember he had 3 in a row where you're he had one against the Spurs, I think, and he had 2 or 3 against the Magic. He's only had 4 all year.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I mean, that's a month ago almost at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, he learns really quick.
Yeah.
He had like 4 or 5 fouls against LaMelo Ball where LaMelo Ball flopped out of bounds, and I had to go back and watch those, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Remember
Those are tough.
He's so impactful though. They need him. Like he only got He only got credit for 5 rebounds, but man, every time he fights for a rebound, I'm just gonna say this every podcast probably. Every time he fights for the rebounds, something good happens. Where the Mavericks will either get it, or they'll be able to set their defense, or just the ball go out of bounds on somebody else. Like just good stuff happens every time he fights for a rebound.
Yeah, and that's so important to setting the defense. This is like the Mavs transition defense is still bad.
Yeah,
there was multiple times in this game where they're giving up easy floater. Aaron Holiday had a floater where no one even stopped the ball once off of a made basket. And those are still plays defensively. It's like, okay, we can get those out. Those plays can't happen. So like, yeah, fighting for the rebounds, tipping them out of bounds off someone else, or just forcing, 3 guys to fight for it while the rest of your defense gets back. Very important for this team. Very important.
You know who else deserves credit while we're here? Dante Exum. I've been calling for Dante Exum minutes. The Exum estate is growing. They're more property. The value of the property is going up. 15 minutes, 12 points, 3 assists, a couple of turnovers, but I thought he was so great. Just his attacking, and he doesn't make a ton of mistakes either, which is really helpful when you're in really close games like this.
Yep. Love his pace. Knocked down a 3. I mean, that's huge. I think I talked about this last time I was on here, where we were like, he's going to have to shoot 3s and make them. Knocked one down. Love it. Yeah, I like him a lot. I just think he's a super smart player, and those are just really valuable players to have on a team. Even if Luka and Kyrie are on the floor, just even having a third guy who knows what he's doing and knows when to attack. And he had a really smart I don't remember who was guarding him. The Rockets might have been in some zone or something, but it was a completely unaccounted for in the corner. Cut baseline. Luka found him for a lob. Super easy. When you're playing next to a player like Luka, if you're in the right place, the ball will come to you.
I thought he was going to throw that down, and he just kind of like put it over. I was like, oh, the old Exum. Like when Exum first got drafted, that guy would have thrown that ball down.
There was a lot of missed dunks tonight. Just take the points.
Derrick Jones Jr. also had like I thought he was going to throw it down like a windmill, and he just simply put it in. And I was like, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I was yelling from my seat. I was like, airplane mode.
Then we had the dunk at the end of the Dirk shut it down. Let's go home.
Oh
yeah, you're at the game.
I heard none of Dirk. I'm so excited.
Great.
I'm so excited to go back and listen because Dirk is gold, and I'm excited to fill the soundboard again with it. I did get this while you were talking, which is why I was confused about Shingun and Lively though.
Yeah.
Green and Elite both have 2 fouls now. Jalen Green, that is. For
Okay, Scotty from under the hoop.
That was when Scott Foster called. He was underneath the hoop.
Yeah.
And he called an offensive foul from like across the floor, and he ran through the lane and like did his big like fist thing and right in the middle of it. I was dying when that happened.
That's why, Scotty, your days are numbered in the NBA as a ref.
They're not though. He's Teflon. Like he just can't be beat.
Just wait until I get a little bit more influence.
Or Chris Paul retires, becomes part of like the actual NBA, works for the league, and then all of a sudden he works that angle on it.
It's just crazy how he has a bad rep with every player in the league. It feels like everyone knows. And it's like, how is he had 150 phone calls with Donahue when he was cheating games.
We've got them all on a hard drive.
I'm ready to leak them. I want a how do you say that? Manila envelope with $100,000. Scott Foster.
Why is it not just like a yellow envelope? Why is it Manila like specifically? Is that the brand? Is that the Kleenex?
Yeah, great question. I don't know.
It wasn't Scott Foster. I don't even think made the worst calls in this game though. Jason Kidd did challenge 2 plays, by the way. I was asking him to challenge more plays, and he challenged one in the first half. In the second quarter, it was a foul on Grant when clearly Jabari Smith pushed whoever it was, or pushed Tim Hardaway Jr. down, and then he got that one. And then another one in the fourth quarter, a really like very close out of bounds play that was pretty necessary. Then they got it, and
I mean, if I'm Kidd, that's when you say, you know how bad you have to be for me to, 1, just challenge a play to begin with, but win 2.
How bad do you have to be? There you go. Let us know what you thought about this game in the comment section below. Give me your reaction to this game. And go check out the other episode where we talk about Cuban and the ownership change, kind of, sort of. We'll talk about that, what it means for Dallas, DFW, the Metroplex, all of the above. We'll talk about that in the other episode. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.